And it says that we are live. So welcome. G'day, guys. Welcome, church. Welcome, YouTube. Welcome, Facebook. Welcome, whoever is watching and tuning in today. This is our first official socially distant podcast. We're going to do this on a weekly basis. My name's Doug Townsend, DT, or the Bogan Preacher. I'm the senior pastor at Big Heart Church, based in Melbourne, Victoria. And this is my minion, my co-host, my occasional Mickey V, Mick. So do you want to share a bit about yourself, mate?
Hey, I am actually, before the great event, I'm actually
great event
at the great event. I'm actually campus pastor at a church called Grow Church Diggers Rest. Been there for a couple of years. Started in the role just a couple of months ago with great fanfare. Just a couple of days ago, we were supposed to do our first big event, and I had grand plans. But you know what? Many of the plans in a man's heart, and this is where God's put me at the moment. So I'm just pumped to hang out with you, Doug. What a crazy time, eh?
Yeah. So this is cool. So we've had a bit of a muck around. Mick and I have played with the idea of a few podcasts over the years, and spent some time hanging out together. We did a test live stream last week. So basically, the plan is that once a week, probably a Monday, somewhere between 7 and 8 p.m., we're going to go live on YouTube and Facebook. And we're going to then rip this off and put it out there as a podcast. So hopefully it's something that encourages you and have a bit of fun along the way. But first of all, I want to just talk with Mick about what he thinks makes a good what he thinks makes a good podcast. And because I'd love to hear his opinions and I'll share mine. So what makes a good podcast for you, mate?
Man, a good podcast is something that helps me. Something that puts a smile on my face. Generally, a podcast that I will listen to more than one episode. It's kind of at least a little bit like humorous, and will give me something a little something I can take away with and do something with, or just like I don't know. I'll tell you something really cool I saw once. It was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it was James Hetfield talking about how he was a beekeeper. And he talked about bees for an hour. I thought that was cool. And I didn't even know why. I didn't even know why James Hetfield talking about bees is cool. But no, just something real, man. Like what I loved about it was that, turns out James Hetfield's a real dude who keeps bees, man. And that's not even an answer, really. It's James Hetfield, beekeeper, Joe Rogan podcast. That is the template. But
I think that's one of the keys to a good podcast. A good podcast, as I get my tongue and wrap my lips around it, is I think a good podcast is made up of conversation. There's a bit of fun in there, a little bit informative. You get to go down rabbit holes with people. But one of the things that I'm looking for is a podcast that is that is faith-based, that is connecting people and encouraging people in their faith, but is something that just connects with everyone. And is clean, is family friendly, but is also something that blokes want to listen to. Like I've been looking at a lot of podcasts lately and watching a lot of stuff, and there's some good stuff out there. But I want something that a good Aussie bloke, a good bogan, someone who loves motorbikes, full drive, camping, can have a bit of fun along the way, and just be part of a community. So for me, that's a big thing about podcasting is what I'm looking for and what I want this to be. I think when it comes to what is a socially distant podcast, it comes out of the times that we live in, where we're living in a socially distant world, where that seems to be the catchphrase for the event that is happening and happened for us, the CV19, where they're like social distancing, is the thing that we're meant to be doing. And I don't think it's actually social distancing. I think it's more a physical distancing we're meant to be following in. But the social distancing side of it, to me, also speaks of how we communicate. And I think my concern is that we will become socially distant from people. So we've got to look at how do we connect with people and communicate. And
just a second.
Yeah, mate.
My internet connection is caned because all of my children are watching the live stream. Kids, turn the live stream off, if you want to see me and Doug talk, come and sit on bed, okay? You're killing me.
So
Adrian, Sam.
this is the joys of live streaming in a house. So yeah, that's okay, mate. It'll all come together over time. But yeah, just going back to it. So like I'm looking for the a socially distant podcast to be something that is bloke friendly as well as family friendly. It's something that people want to connect with. But I want to do, as I've shared with you, like I want us to be a place where we can do interviews with people, where we can go down the rabbit holes, like, probably not talking to James from Metallica about beekeeping, but, talking to people.
That's the dream. That's the dream.
That's the dream for you. That's the dream for you. But yeah, just talking to people and interviewing people about what's happening in their life and finding out the cool things that they're doing around the world. As a pastor, I've got some great friends who are doing lots of cool stuff in different parts of the country and different parts of the world. And you would have too over the years have made some good friends in that space. And I think this is an opportunity for us to showcase, what some creatives and what ministries and just what some people are doing, like cool things that people are doing in their life, and hopefully encourage others to be creative and make a difference in the world. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for from this podcast and to do over time.
Cool, man.
So yeah. So talking about ingredients that go into a podcast, obviously conversation. The other thing for me is audience interaction. So one of the things that I would love for us to be able to do with the podcast is invite you, the audience, to drop us a message as you tune in each week, and we'll give you an invitation to do that. And because of the software that we're using, if you leave a comment, it'll actually come up in my feed here. I'll be able to interact it across the screen, but also we can answer maybe some of your questions as guests come in or as we're doing stuff throughout the day. So drop us a line, say good day as you're watching, and we'd love for you to be a part of this online experience. So yeah. So I suppose the first thing I want to do is I want to ask you, Mick, when it comes to podcasting, what is it that you've been listening to? Like, is there anything that stands out to you that you're listening to in a podcast world that entertains you and keeps you connected?
Well, again, man, I've been a bit, to be honest with you, I've been last month, I've just been I've kind of unplugged. Because I haven't been on the train. Usually I'm a podcast on the train guy. It's I've been on holidays for 2 beautiful weeks with my family. Yeah. And I was working from home for 2 weeks, and I really haven't been listening to much because every time I put on the YouTube, I get in trouble at the moment. So I've kind of got to. You'll find me just sitting under my desk, like just listening to it. I'm gonna find time. At the moment, I'm reading a few books. Actually, reading a really cool book at the moment.
Okay.
I'm reading 2 books at the moment, alternating between them because I'm hopeless. I'm reading There Is More by Brian Houston.
Yep.
And that's pretty cool. I like that because he's a really sort of positive dude, and I kind of got just sick of looking at the news, and a friend bought me that book for my birthday, so I just read that. Yep. And I've been reading Erasing Hell by Francis Chan.
Okay.
Which is pretty. It's kind of he's like a really sort of a brainy dude, so I'm just trying to understand what he's laying down, and it's actually really kind of interesting stuff. I like where he's going with it. So that's kind of, I've been trying to read books, just trying to get off the devices and trying to stay out of trouble at the moment.
Stay out of trouble. Yeah. So I listen to a lot of different stuff. I'm a big podcast fan. I have been for well, I'd say decade or more. So I listen to everything. Like I'll listen to the No Agenda podcast. I'll listen to Joe Rogan. I'll listen to 200 Churches. I'll listen to Kerry Newhart.
Oh my gosh! You know what? When when I first started being, I'm just interrupting you. That's just terrible podcast partner. When I started as a pastor, I was like so clueless. Like just even before I was a pastor, I listened to like the 200 Churches podcast religiously for about 3 years, and I listened to it, and it really helped me, man. There was like and there's all this stuff that all these smart people had heard a million times, and it just really helped me. Like just listen to that solidly for 2 or 3 years, just really rocks.
Yeah. Look, I love the 200 Churches podcast. I smashed out a whole heap of them and Kerry Newhoff when I first discovered them, and I think I
like that guy. He's the Canadian guy
without any breaks. And same with the 200 Churches podcast. But like I listen to like snippets of.
Could I ask you a question about the 200 Churches podcast? Are you a Jeff guy or a Johnny guy?
I don't really mind either way. Like. Yeah, I don't have a bias either way.
I am Jeff all the way. Johnny, he's a young upstart. Jeff, that guy seems to know what he's talking about. Like I'm a Jeff guy all the way. I'm Team Jeff.
Yep. Team Jeff all the way through.
Team Jeff, baby.
Team Jeff. So
Team Jeff.
Yeah, we got. While I think about it, I dropped a comment up there before. Just Jacob is in the house. So g'day, mate. So when it comes to podcasting and stuff like that, I listen to everything. I'm very eclectic. Like, Christian, secular, lots of different stuff in there. One of the ones that is a Christian podcast that borders on. A lot of secular topics and conversation there that really digs deep into faith and some of the challenges around that is the Bad Christian podcast. I don't know if you've come across that or not, but they're a couple of the boys out of Emery, which is one of the, I suppose, hard rock metal, soft metal-ish bands. I don't know that's out there. So I like what they're doing. And a couple of those guys, I think, were pastors or connected with Mark Driscoll's church back in the day. So. Yeah, so it's so there's some pretty solid podcasts out there. It's just finding them, and a couple of mates of mine we just started the Vlog Pastors podcast. So I think they're only 1 or 2 episodes into that. So so there's some good stuff out there. It's just a matter of finding it and then jumping in and going down the rabbit hole. There's another one which I've seen on YouTube, but I haven't actually seen if it's come across to a podcast yet, which I'm sure it has, which is Valuetainment. And he's a business dude. So you're Mick's wandering down the hallway. This is the walking podcast.
Oh, how we go?
If you're watching it as he zooms through, you're gonna get a cup of tea, mate.
Can I have a cup of tea? Please, cup of tea. I don't want to swap.
This is the joys of live streaming. So one of the things that we
be careful, mate. My missus will be podcasting and I'll be bathing. So
one of the things that Mick and I talked about doing is on a weekly basis, just from a segment thing, is we want to talk about some of the news or current events that sort of stick out to us and have stood out to us. And one of the things that Mick was talking about was you were saying that there were a couple of guys fined today for eating pizza in the car. Do you want to tell me?
4 blokes fined for eating pizza in their car. Look, I don't want to start the hornet's nest because half of the people are going to say, these laws are getting ridiculous, and the other half are going to be like, oh, but people are sick and blah blah blah. I don't want to get into it. All I'm saying is, I think both sides are valid. Yeah, life's pretty serious at the moment. You got to take it seriously, but it's pretty fun. It's. Poor 4 guys getting fined for eating pizza in their car 2 weeks ago. That you never would have seen it.
That's pretty hard. I did hear a little bit about that, and I believe that part of their fine was because they actually arced up against the police officers and gave them a hard time.
Yeah. I think had they said
probably didn't help their case, but
I'm sure had they said we're eating pizza, okay, we'll bugger off. They might have been okay, but
the whole idea of being fined for eating pizza in a car, because I've often thought, just as someone who wants to hang out with some of my mates, can I just go and get a coffee and go through drive-through and sit in the car and talk to them while I have a coffee if we just drove from one point to another point, just to be able to connect?
technically you can go for a walk with them and have a coffee.
That's right. I could go for a walk with them, but I can't go for a drive with them and have a coffee. Which
no drive.
It doesn't that makes sense. I understand we've got to look after people and we've got to be in that space, but yeah, there's some of those things out there I just don't completely understand.
If you get one of those foam dome helmets, you could probably like ride a bike and have a coffee with them. I don't know.
So
but it is. Yeah. I mean, it is. I gotta say, it's pretty ridiculous. It's like. It's pretty hilarious. Like,
yeah,
you know, I know things are very serious and we shouldn't joke about things and blah, blah, but I mean, we're living in a time where that's the thing. And it kind of makes me smile. It just like, I know it's not a great thing, but it's sort of just the idea that 4 guys got fined for it. It's just unusual.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the world today, like it doesn't matter where you live, where there's some craziness that's going around just in the lockdowns and how it is. And I understand that there's a social aspect to it, but part of me is like, yep, I'm on board and I'm there, but part of me is also like, I don't know, I could rebel with this very easily because, you know, it's not gelling with some of the social or the liberties that I hold dear to. So.
And it's amazing how quickly those liberties will round back.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's not taken. It's not like it's and that I find really interesting because I was always under the impression, you know, you sort of free country, blah blah blah. Maybe not so much. And look, I think what we've got going on in Australia is pretty good because we haven't got people dropping dead.
That's right.
Bonzo, yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that low mortality rate. Love that low hospitalization rate. It's pretty cool, and it gives us a lot of options. But you know, you got to be real. Like, it's something. It is quite an eye opener, and it's something to think about. You know, it's pretty interesting, and I think it's a matter of time as well. Like, does it, do things change for the worse? Do they does it ramp up? Hey, I didn't think there'd ever be a time where we couldn't meet as a church. I thought that was like, you know, people say one day the church will be scared. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Like, that's never going to happen. And it's like, it's happened without too much fuss as well.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, not in the short term, but in the long term, it's that one of those things that, you know, you have as a bit of a concern because it's those freedoms and liberties that we've surrendered for a good reason. But at the same time, there's a whole lot of things that the government is bringing into play in Australia that once it's in there, it's not going back. Like there's not a whole lot of changes going back the other way. And I can't see how they can fix some of the things that they're, you know, obviously I think it's a good thing what they've done with the Centrelink payments and things like that around, you know, doubling the Centrelink payments and you know, making it affordable to try and keep people, you know, in housing and, you know, and income coming in so that the economy will bounce back quicker. But I can't see how the government can make that sustainable in the long run in how they do stuff. So there's a whole lot of stuff in there from a governmental perspective, from a societal perspective, you know, and even like, you know, curtailing freedom and liberty. I heard someone, a quote today from someone saying that, you know, this may become a 1 in 10 year event that we just become used to being locked down for fixed periods of time because of a virus or an outbreak.
You know what? That's the case.
It kind of scares me. Not scares me, but I find it an interesting concept that, you know, that could be a conversation that's being had.
You know what? I've got to get a better sound system for my TV if that's the case. Because what I got now isn't cutting the mustard.
Get a nice sound bar.
Got to get a sound bar. Yeah, there's been much murmuring in the Vassallo household at the quality of the audio.
Yep.
And usually it's like we're at church, we're at church, and the music's playing, and I gotta say, don't tell anybody this.
I won't. Oh, look, no one's listening at the moment, so that's okay.
Something about the church service is kind of really unusual to me.
Yeah.
The worship band.
Yeah.
I'm in the worship band. It's pre-recorded. I was there. it makes it really unusual for me. Like it's
So watch
very
yourself.
it's very
it's the
hard to kind of it's very hard for me to trick myself into thinking it's live church,
yeah,
which it isn't. Like,
yeah,
and look, that's something that I mean, I still worship and I'm still doing my best, but it is unusual. And I mean, and we're in the
yeah.
same shirt every week too. We did like 12 songs. I am just every week the same shirt. Like,
Yep.
I hope they
So-
can get. I don't know. I think the laws are fixed up so that maybe they can get a few people down there to record some songs in different shirts because we're all that we the worship band have been wearing the same costume for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's unusual.
Yeah, look, I think it's the look. Some of the laws have changed and so how they do stuff and that, but I think just that whole social distancing and and it's not just us that have that as Christians that have the challenge. Like you mentioned before off air when we were chatting, that there was some Orthodox Jews that got fined for coming together. I read an article about one of the churches in Hobart saying that. Someone had made a complaint because there was too many cars in the car park, but they were working within my understanding is they were working within the confines of the law around coming together and that, any faith-based group or any organization that wants to come together on a regular basis, whether they're Christian, Jews, Muslims, Buddhist, Baha'i, whoever, whatever the flag, all has to curtail to the same standards. So it's challenging for all of us, but it's how do we? I like obviously as a Christian and interested in the Christian church is how do we respond to that is my big question, and how do we look after and how do we do that? So yeah, and how do we do that well? And every church has to work out how to do it in their own style and bring their own flavor to that. The way that you guys do it is different to the way that we do it, which is different to the way that the church up the road does it. So. Yeah,
I think it's interesting, and I really, at the moment, I really feel for churches that are financially leveraged as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you kind of you guys are pretty sweet because you guys run pretty low overheads, yeah.
Yeah. We've as a church financially, we've made some pretty wise choices over the years in how we manage, just being good stewards of the gifts, talents, and resources, which is something I pray all the time for us as a church. But for us as a church, like we're not in a place where we're locked into huge overheads or that, what we've got at the moment
or anything like that. Yeah,
will cover the church's needs. Where we're at and have a bit more to be able to put into supporting projects and other things, particularly as we can ramp things up and start to get back out there and do a bit more. So well,
I think that's going to be that's the challenge for everyone. It's like what happens. I was actually started this I told you about it last time, this John Fincaldi. He did this he's doing this 7-day reset thing on Facebook. And I did the first day of it today, and one of the things that he spoke about was just the idea that, we've got to keep dreaming about what it's going to be like when this is all over. And just really have that, just really keep that hope alive, because it's so easy to get, especially when there's no end date, it's so easy to get to get down. I think it's like Proverbs 13:12. It's like, hope deferred makes the heart sad or something.
Yep.
There you go. Like totally mangled that scripture, but
I know what you mean.
We've really got to find things that we can, to look forward to and think about the return and think about, what we're going to do in our communities and start planning. I'm actually thinking about even just getting a couple of the guys from our church, just some of the musos together, and just start look for a song, look for a key, start practicing. So when we get first week back, whether it's in a month, 3 months, 6 months, who knows? We've got something that we've been working on. We got something beautiful that we can kind of bring, So I'm offline now.
Yeah, no, that's cool. We're looking along just to follow down that tangent and rabbit hole. We're looking at similar things. We're going, okay, so how do we do this as a church? How do we connect with people? How do we, follow people up? How do we continue to put tools and resources in place to help the church grow, and to help people grow in their faith and in life, and even to stay connected during this season. So for us, we're already looking at that. Beck's looking at doing Zoom for the worship team. We're looking at doing a couple of different regular Zoom sessions that we've locked in set times for. Where one at night and one during the day. We're looking at a Wednesday night worship that is just a live streamed worship night. We're doing, different things throughout the week. We're looking at how can we try and stay connected with our young people as well. How do we look at all of that stuff and have people involved and engaged in that space? And it's just one of those things, I think, not only us, but the church has to look at. And the guy that you referenced before, I know it's Grow a Healthy Church is his website, because I'd actually looked him up. Yeah,
that's the guy, the Grow a Healthy Church guy.
Yeah. He's got some good resources on there. So,
he does. He's a good egg, that guy.
Yeah, so you're talking about resetting your habits and those things through him. Like that's the stuff you're going through at the moment in this time.
Which is really cool. So that's which is really awesome, because I'm starting my job back after some amazing holidays.
Yep.
Again, some good, some bad. So I'm starting. Me and the whole crew are starting up school and work from home tomorrow. So we've just got to build some. We've got to build some stuff in there to kind of stop it becoming mayhem.
Yep. Yeah, and you've got to build those habits and those things in place to be able to do that. So speaking about mayhem, so in the last few weeks, what are some of the bloopers or lockdown things that you've noticed or observed or have happened for you? Obviously, I'm guessing watching yourself lead or work in the worship team has been one of those.
My wife is my harshest critic, and something that I know and that's the thing. Like she's kind of got she's usually I get up and minister, and then I go back to my chair, and then she tells me what I did wrong, and in love, I think. In love. But there's one thing she we were sitting down watching the live stream, and I did the communion, and I did the wine before the bread.
Yep.
And she gave me a very hard time about that. And she said today she said, so has anyone messaged you about the wine before the bread? Because I'm pretty sure that's not done.
Yep.
Have you ever done the wine before the bread, Doug?
I don't think I have actually, mate. I'm happy to be stand corrected, but no, I don't think I've ever got it out of order in that way. I'm sure I've fumbled through communion a few times, but I don't think I've ever got that bit out of order.
I feel like I fumble through communion every time. It's I find it very. To me. I actually find it harder than preaching, because you got the bread there, you got the wine there, you got the people, the standing up, the sitting down, the praying. It's just you got like all these things happening, man. It's like you juggling all these balls. Leading the service, I don't mind. Preaching, I quite like, because the thing about preaching is if you muck something up, you've got like 20 something minutes. You can make a few mistakes, but your communion message is so short.
Yeah,
muck that up, man. It's like you're back in your seat, and it's like I don't know.
I think it's one of those things that is
it's just things.
Yeah, like I love preaching and obviously standing up and communicating. Like for me, I think that's definitely one of the gifts that God has given me. But I just kind of roll with my bloopers and roll with my punches and try and make some fun of it, or make some joke of it, or make some light of it as I'm going through it. But yeah, I suppose if I could give myself a blooper for the week is one of the things that you try and do when you're communicating is look at the camera. So, when you're like when you're up front, you're talking, you want to work the room, you want to look at everyone, you want to make eye contact, you want to talk to people, you want to do all these things where you're actually connecting with people. But when you're actually doing it with a camera, you actually sometimes just need to look at the camera and do it. But because we have
that smoldering Tom Cruise laser vision,
you want to get in there and you want to talk to the camera. But or at least be looking in that general direction when you're talking. It's part of that communication, particularly when you're talking live and that. Obviously, whether it's you and I here, I'm trying to look at you and, the camera and that. There's a few tricks on that there. But one of the things that I noticed when I watch back, because I watch back over the services on Sunday, is there's a screen off to my right-hand side here. And on Sunday, because it's the biggest screen and I'm trying to look at how things are framed and worrying about all the stuff that's happening in the service while I'm talking and that, your eyes actually look like they're looking over the top or across the camera. So it doesn't actually look like you're looking into the camera. It looks like you're looking everywhere else. And for me, that is my own personal blooper. It's because I should be actually looking at the camera and being conscious that when I'm talking to people, that's where people are, and talking in that direction. So, yeah. That's
people are so good at that.
Oh yeah, look, I think there are people that are good at it, and are used to being in front of a camera. But then I think when you see it at churches and stuff like that, you've got cameras positioned in those directions. So if it's a preset, studio with multiple camera settings, they always make it look like they're in that right direction. So,
and sometimes you got a preacher of a decent sized church. He's got a small team of people there to make him look awesome, and you've got an iPhone, so you can't be too. Right. And look, it's one of those things where most church, I reckon, a lot of churches, even my folks, they're Catholic. Yeah, Zooming with them on Easter Sunday as you do.
Yeah,
even they're live streaming and stuff. So you got Catholic priests at a pulpit doing all that stuff, live streaming. Like, there's all these people who have every dude everyone's doing it, and it's like there's all these people who've never done it before. It's very interesting.
Yep. My uncle sent me a message to say even the Pope's doing it. So yeah, he had a bit of a laugh and a bit of a joke to say that he was following our lead because we were doing it before he was. So yes. But I think it's everyone's using it. Everyone's using live streaming and doing that sort of stuff. So one of the things that you were talking about, like in life in lockdown, when you prior to us coming on here, is you're saying that you kind of feel like you're in a Big Brother house at the moment.
I am in the Big Brother house, and it's I was grocery shopping this morning with a humongous list. I had like my iPad and I had like 100 things on my list of all the things that we're going to need for the next 3 weeks, and I've even forgotten a few things. We had to eat our dinner without capsicum tonight because I forgot it. And I just realized, like, I'm buying all this food for these 5 mad people who have to go live in the same house as each other.
Yeah.
And we all get along okay, but we all get along much better when we're not in the same house like 24/7.
Yep.
And it's the Big Brother house, man. It's crazy, man. Like it's nice. But I'm trying to find ways. We're trying to find ways to really show each other. There's a lot of grace that needs to be shown to each other.
Yep.
Like I tend to disappear and have naps, and my wife was basically like, "Where were you today?" Basically all day I was either shopping, or on the or watching YouTube, or on the toilet, or having a nap. That was like the 4 things I did all day.
Yeah,
and it's really unusual. I'm really finding that I'm finding my wife really thrives on personal interaction.
Yep.
And just really being with people.
Yes.
I find that for her, like, being with people is what makes her normal.
Yeah.
And being with people is what I can do once I am normal by like secluding myself somewhere.
Yeah.
So it is the Big Brother house, and then I've got 3 kids, and they're all mad, in their own way. Again, I'm sharing an office with my daughter. I don't know what I was thinking. She's basically, she moved into the office, and it's like, "Oh, can I share your office, Dad?" And then today I buy her a chair, and she's like, "So when you're not in the office, can I use your chair?" Don't even look at my chair. And then she does her like little desk up. And she's like, she like gives it like the full makeover, and then it's like, okay, after that she gives my desk the makeover, and I'm actually at her desk because it's nicer than mine. She gives my desk the makeover, And then she says, "Look, we got to agree that at the end of the day, we keep the room clean." And it's like, oh man, I just don't know what I signed up for.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad when your daughter's going to rule in your work life, mate. So
I don't know. I get the feeling by this time next week, I'm probably going to be booted out of this office. Probably going to be broadcasting from my bedroom, but we will see.
We'll see if you're allowed to do that. See if you're allowed to. So
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see if I have permission to go from the office, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's I don't know. It's really It's really odd. It is odd with the young family, but you know what? Tomorrow I get to have lunch with my family, and how good is that?
Yeah. It's good. Yeah, the fact that you can have lunch at home and hang out with your family is a good thing. I know for Beck and I, like trying to find the balance for us. She's the opposite. She's like happy to be on her own, happy to be locked away, happy not to have a lot of social interaction. You know, needs some, but not a lot. I'm the other one. I'm like, you know, I got to get out of the house every day, even if it's just to go down the shop and buy a carton of milk or whatever. I just got to get out of the house. Just to get out and see human and have human interaction. So yeah, if we ever get into a place where they say you can't go anywhere, which I'm sure it won't get that bad, I will be really in a tough place myself. So yeah, it comes down to that human interaction.
I think I got to get out of the house just to be by myself.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of a I'm not ashamed to say, on Easter after the live stream of my church service, I just had to get out of the house.
Yeah.
So I took a walk, bought a 7-Eleven coffee, and just went for a walk for 20 minutes, and shot some hoops in the front yard, and then I was almost human again. Yeah.
No. Hey, we've got to do what we got to do, mate. You've got to make sure that we've got time and space there. So yeah, that's cool. Hey, before you said, I'm going to wrap this up very shortly, but before you said that you had been watching some YouTube and that, hiding away from the family today, what are you watching on YouTube? And
what about YouTube?
What are you watching on YouTube when you're hiding away from the family?
At the
moment, got any recommendations there?
I'm watching. I don't know why YouTube wants me to watch this, but I'm watching 1990s UFC bouts with Ken Shamrock in them.
Okay, cool.
Like I just watch what YouTube tells me to watch, and I've been watching MMA lately. I don't know, man.
Okay.
Is that what's the? Am I going to get like fired as a pastor because I watch MMA?
No, I'm all for a bit of an MMA. I got a mate of mine who used to come home from church. He was a pastor. He still is a pastor, but he was pastoring a church. And he used to come home after church, and Sunday afternoons would be his fight afternoon. He'd tune into the boxing and watch boxing all afternoon on a Sunday afternoon. That was his switch off mode. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with a bit of MMA, mate. So
I suppose it depends how hard your church is. I remember back in the 2000s, when Joe and I were in Melton, us and the youth. This is just how many people are watching this?
Oh, thousands.
A couple?
Thousands. Thousands.
We went through a really rough time in our youth ministry, and the numbers were low, and the kids we had didn't get along that well.
Yeah.
And that's being nice. It was really tough going, and at the end of it, most Fridays after youth group, me, Joe, and the youth pastor would go to his house, and would have a beer and play Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
That was a tough season, man. That was a tough season.
Yeah,
but things are better now.
Yeah, it's better now. That's good to hear. It's good to hear. So yeah. It's what every pastor wants to hear, is that their youth leaders are going home to have a beer after youth.
But we were young though. We were like,
oh yeah, no. And look, every church has a different culture, so don't stress about that, mate. We
were young guys, and we basically were giving up our social life, and it was a nice. Actually, you know what? That guy Dave Patterson. Still, we went through so many hard times together. Still love that guy. I don't see him very often. I still love that. You know, they've got the people you
Yep.
go through hard times with in work and in church and stuff.
Yep.
You just love them to bits, man.
You do.
And
They do. They become
there's just
family.
there's just something about people who go through the hard times with you that you just there's just something there. Love
Yeah.
that guy, Dave. If you're watching at some point, or you come back to this, shout out to you, Dave Patterson.
If you come back, yep.
Greg.
Yep.
That
So
guy is a top shelf dude.
it's top shelf dude. Okay, cool. I'm watching shipping container builds.
Oh,
That's what's coming up in my feed a lot lately. I kind of go through stages where I watch a lot of photography stuff and I'll watch something and then I'll watch something and I'll watch something. But at the moment, it's shipping container builds and a lot of podcast stuff in there because I've obviously, doing my homework on Christian podcasters and other people are in this space. So yeah, so they're kind of the things that are coming up in my feed at the moment. So which is an interesting place to be. So yeah, it's amazing.
Actually, another thing I'm doing is my missus never got into Seinfeld.
Okay.
And Adrian, my eldest, he went to the library late last year, and he got a DVD and he started watching it. Got her into Seinfeld, so I think we're going to be watching a couple of episodes of Seinfeld tonight.
Okay.
So that's Seinfeld. I know that's so random, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been watching The Arrow with Beck. Like that's kind of our show because it's like this popcorn, it's a comic book type series, but it's
Is
like
that the guy with the abs?
yeah, he does the rack stuff, arrow shooting. Yeah.
Shooting arrows.
Yeah.
Abs.
That's right. So, but it's like it's like a popcorn comic book. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just you don't really you can watch it but not really pay attention to it and still get the storyline and something you can switch off in front of. So that's kind of become our show at the moment. So we're about 3 or 4 seasons into 7 seasons of it. So yeah.
Okay.
So
that's cool.
that's our show. And then we go down different. Beck likes to go down the storyline of shows that have like murder mysteries and all that sort of stuff. But I can't do that stuff. I'm like nah. So yeah,
I can do I can do a little bit of it, but
so
Joe likes the true crime stuff, the documentaries.
Yep.
I don't get it, man.
Yeah, I love a good doco. If you get a good doco, good doco conspiracy theories are always fun as well. So, yeah. No,
actually, good documentary coming out this week. I know this is not even close to church related, but
it doesn't have to be, man.
There's a Michael Jordan documentary coming out this week.
Okay.
By ESPN. It's going to be so I'm kind of looking forward to it because big fan of the man. Love Michael Jordan.
Man, yeah.
He's the greatest basketball player to ever played.
Okay.
Not even in my opinion.
Yep.
So fact. And
it's fact. It's fact. Mickey V has made the statement. Michael Jordan is the greatest ever.
It's not even controversial. It's just so. It's not even. It's not even controversial.
Yeah. So
he's the greatest. He's the greatest to ever play the game.
Greatest to ever play the game. Fair enough. The Russian Eagle's in the house. You see.
Russian Eagle.
Mr. Corey.
I feel like we've gotten onto a pretty bad. We started with the Christian ministry stuff, and we ended up talking about
But this is the beauty about podcasting, though. I think we can go anywhere, and we can have the conversations, and it doesn't have to be locked into one stream of
James Hetfield talking about beekeeping.
That's right. It could be. Yeah, we could talk. We started with James Hetfield. We could finish with James Hetfield talking about beekeeping. But I think when it comes to podcasting, and even with what this channel, and what this is going to be, I think that's it. And you and I are just going to work out our rhythm and work out our flow as we go on. And, we've done lots of stuff mucking around together, but I think we're just going to learn how to continue to do that as we muck around. We can bring in the Russian Eagle,
Mm.
as a guest and have him hanging out with us for half an hour.
Yeah, what's up? You're holding out on me with the Russian Eagle. Like, you know, is the Russian Eagle too cool for you to bring in? Like, you're embarrassed of me. Come on, man.
Oh, I'm definitely not embarrassed of the Russian Eagle. He's a great young man. I will, and if he's watching and paying attention now, give me a thumbs up if you're interested in coming on. Not today, but because we're going to wrap this up, but we'll bring you in another day, young Corey. So, yeah, see how much attention he's paying. Sorry,
he's not. He's the Russian Eagle. He's off making a cup of tea.
He's probably off making a cup of tea. He's probably growing his potatoes, watering his potatoes.
Does he grow potatoes?
Well, he's Russian. He will. He's got to have something for his vodka.
Well, when I was in high school, I always wanted to make vodka. Sorry, you come on, man. If you don't wrap this up, I'm just going to keep talking.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to make this the end of our first proper socially distant podcast. This is a line drawn in the sand where we've had some fun. We've had a bit of a chat tonight.
Oh wait.
We've got that.
Oh, we're all done, baby.
We got the magic cup of magic hand.
That's actually not a bad cup of tea. Okay. Joe says next week we have to make it later.
Okay, we can make it later if need be. So we're working out the times. We'll do that. So, wise Yoda one.
So, I can't believe we got a cup of tea. I was just like teasing her. I thought because I left her to do all the work. God bless her. And I gotta go sort things out now. But
yeah,
I left her
that's
to do all the
cool.
work, and I thought just to add insult to injury, I'd ask for a cup of tea. Best wife ever.
Yep. So
anyway,
we'll wrap that up there. If you've watched and you've survived and you've been a part of it for this long, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being a part of. Here we are. We've got. Hello.
Sam, what's going on?
Sam.
Sam.
Okay. Anyway, we're out. We'll catch you later, and we'll see you in the next one. This is the joys of live. Bye.
Bye.